Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage we're going in. We're taking the glass off the XK8 headlights. Okay guys, so all you need to know about this one is this is not difficult, but it does require patience. You do not want to break anything on your headlight. So in terms of tools we're going to use, I got my box of trim removal tools and some little plastic strips, chisel, levers basically. But most importantly, I have my hairdryer. Heat gun good, don't be too violent with it. I like my hairdryer. This is an old one of my wife's. I know it's not going to overheat things. It's pretty intense, but nothing like a paint stripper gun would achieve. If you've got a nice heat controlled heat gun, then that's going to be marvelous. In order to get this front off, all we need to do is unhook some of these plastic clips. But we are dealing with 23-year-old plastics here, so they're going to be a lot more brittle than they should be. You don't want to break anything on this, trust me. These can cost a couple of £100 if you're lucky. So don't break them, else you'll end up repairing them. So first mission, know where your clips are. There's 1, 2, 3 across the top. There is one on the end, which would be the outside of the car, and there are 1, 2, 3 on the bottom. The 3 on the bottom tend to be better engaged as a rule, but mine aren't, which suggests maybe I've got a weak seal there. But they're certainly engaged more on. They've got to be bent back further to come off than the others have. So we start our efforts with these and the one at the side. And how I would recommend to work is warming up these evenly and this one on the side, and then we basically got to prise them off and keep them prised off. The system is that if I can get this, this, this and this all off, the ones on the bottom don't matter because I can hinge the thing open. So hairdryer on and hot setting and warm her up. If you find you can't touch it with your hand, bare hand, obviously I've got some gloves on, then you're probably about the right point. Don't go too far. Okay, well I'm just finishing this. Give you an idea, I've got a digital thermometer. There's a piece of plastic that's been sat on my bench, 20 degrees C. I think in Celsius, so you have to do your own translations. Look at the clips, 55, take the heater away, 50, 52, 43. $53, 53, 49, 51. That's about the right sort of temperature. You don't need one of these. It's just nice to know that you've not underheated one, concentrated too much on the others. So basically I've achieved very hot weather, or the sort of thing that the engine bay might generate around these headlights. Nothing OTT. So now, working reasonably quickly, I'm going to get one of my tools, my trim tools, and just use that to lever the clip. I'm not putting any pressure on, just seeing how it moves, and that one has popped and stayed up, so I'm happy with that. I'm again just feeling it. Oh, this is going to come off nice and easy. Beautiful. That's stayed on top. This one, a little bit more resistance, but there she goes, just about staying on top. And this one, yep, she's there. And what I'm going to do now before I do anything is just warm it up again, just so that everything stays supple. That clip was down to 45. All up just over 50 again. Now I'm going to use my finger. Oh, nice and soft. Yep. Those are all off. Quickly pick it up. See if it hinges away. Yes, it does. And I can see some damp on the seal, so I know I'm doing the right stuff here. And those are not going to pop back on now, so that's very good. Right, so upside down, and I don't know if you can see, but there's some moisture around that area that has probably been driven out by the heat. I'm just going to try these clips cold. Yep, because some of the heat is transmitted, plus the top has moved, I'm able to release all three of those clips, just pushing away, pushing away, pushing away, and we're off. And I have successfully split my headlight, something which OE, you'd be looking at over £300 for one of these. Second hand, as I say, 200 might be quite a good deal. So I'm taking my headlight apart. And using care and patience to learn everything I can. So I can see a lot of moisture going along this seal, but it's on the inside edge. That edge looks pretty gnarly. So I'm just going to see if I can improve your view for a second. So what I've done is I'm looking at the seal. As you see, inside wet, outside dry. Inside wet, outside dry. And in here, it's a bit gnarly looking. I think that's where my fault has been. So running round, running round, running round. Looking at the seal. This is the top. So you'd expect it to be dry both sides anyway. Yeah. So if it's got past the seal on the front edge, then I'm looking at the side that is here, and this is top outside corner here. So that lamp's going to need the same treatment soon, but it doesn't have the corrosion in there, which means it's not as bad, maybe not been like that for so long. Right, so now that the light is split, it's easier to disconnect these internal light fittings. Indicator lamp, you give a quarter turn clockwise, and out comes our amber indicator lamp. Little gasket is intact. And then we've got our side light lamp, which again, quarter turn left, or anti-clockwise as we say in the UK, and out comes our side light. And now I've got my entire lens off, and there's water still running out of it. But mainly in terms of damage or what I think has caused the problem, we're looking at this area, which is really quite gnarly and was near the outside edge of the lamp. Okay, now looking inside, and there's quite a lot of white powder, which will be the corrosion from the white metal that is used to create this cradle. Put my finger in the back again. Where's the hole? There it is. This cradle on which the adjusting mechanism operates. I just reinstalled the light cluster to plug in just to check that the electrics are working, because I did have a dicky lamp. The side light used to come on when you knocked the lens like that and it flickers. So that's either the bulb or the holder's hot. So that's working. Let's put on the hazard warnings, and that's the amber lamp that is behind a sort of clear frosted lens, which is there to disguise its colour. That should be low beam, but is achieving nothing. And the low beam or standard lamp is this lamp on the car. It has a genuine glass lens. It is a true projector. Very good headlight, but it is not operating. So that might be the bulb. We'll check that out. And then we have the main beam, which is the inner of the two main lamps, and that one seems to be operating effectively. So let's just take a couple of minutes to address the issue of the condensation in the headlights, and how that happens, why it's a problem on these lights. Well, first thing is, all headlights do suffer from condensation because they have to be vented to air, because the air inside them is going to expand, and for sufficient heat generated, you could pop seals, crack the lens, all that sort of thing. So they're going to have some sort of air intake, and that allows them to draw moisture in. But in the main, the lights are able to vent, breathe, do what you want to say, and get rid of that moisture. These headlights, less so. So you can see the discoloration on my reflector, where water has been sitting because it's run down the inside of the lens. And it's fine for water to sit on there, but not for years. Another issue is, you can see the black showing through the reflector in the base of, that's the main beam cavity. And the chroming as such on these lights is what they call vapour deposition. So I'm reaching through inside here. There's a black bit. You might think, oh, I'll rub that black bit off. What really is happening is you rub off, you see, you rub off the chrome, because it's just a powder. It was a little better attached when it was new, but you can't clean these things up. The water has lifted that powder away, stained it. That's for keeps. And yet you could dismantle it, take the glass off, you could spray them silver. I've never really come across a chrome paint that gives a proper mirror finish. You could put some sort of wrapping material, vinyl, in there. That could be quite effective, but you would have to do it in sections. You could get them re-deposited, quite expensive. You could try and get them chrome plated, but chrome plating plastic is quite expensive unless you've got your own facilities. So that's quite an issue. So where are these lights supposed to vent? Well, first thing is, there is a fix, and I do say fix with inverted commas. Jaguar did a technical bulletin on how to drill this boss. So this is next to where the bolt catches the headlight near the hinge. So there's the indicator, there it is, there's a boss there. And you drill that out, and into here you insert a short tube with a T-section on the end facing down. And the idea is that gives it a little bit more breathing, ventilation, and reduces some of the condensation. And it does work to an extent. But where's the original venting on these things? And the answer is, flip over this section, the back section, and you'll find this thing. I slid that out so I didn't lose it when we first disassembled the light. But if you slide it backwards, whoops, there it goes. What falls out is a little maze, literally. And the air, but not water, is supposed to be able to get through this little maze and out of these two downward facing elements. It was in that slot there, and if I show you from the front, whoops, that is, that cavity there is connected to the outside world. And to stop water getting driven in, it uses this little T-piece. It gets blocked. Most people don't even know it exists. So that's what's supposed to be doing the job. One of the reasons that this doesn't work is a purely styling thing. And that is to get to here and allow water and air to get away. The whole system would have to be interlinked, water would be able to drain down. The element we're looking at is below this, which has a smooth bottom. And this ridged area here, which obviously is going to collect condensation, is never going to drain away. So the water sits there. And unless you have your headlights on main beam, which generates a fair amount of heat from this side, quite regularly, to really warm it up and dry this area out, it just sits there, and you get this endless cycle of moving condensation around in the lamp, and it settles, and you move it around in the lamp and it settles, and you never really burn it off. So in my case, I think that the lamp's got water in because of a failed seal on the glass element, which is a glass and reflector combined, where it joins to the back element. Plus, I suspect it's been washed without this being in position correctly. So now it's all disassembled, I could dry things out and just replace the gasket maybe. But I've also got the bad reflector. The other one is nowhere near as bad, but I've got this bad reflector, which is very difficult to address. And on the underside of this lens unit, we have this broken section. It's not a perforation, but it is supposed to have a captive nut on it, which is where the front mounting at the bottom is for my headlight. So one of the things that I've done to address my issues is I've ordered some new lens units. So lens and reflector combined from British Parts, and behind me, here's a box, and I'm very excited to say I have not been in it. We're going to go in it together and see what I've been sent. Oops. So this is the company I've used. Not a sponsorship or anything else, I'm just sharing where I got my parts from. I decided to order a pair because although the other lamp is nowhere near as bad, that obviously they were not going to match. Ooh, shiny. There we go. Looking around it, a reflector looks beautiful. The area in front of the indicator often starts to look quite grim quite quickly because it's sealed off in a lamp, and that obviously looks gorgeous. You can see the seal is stored in there. It's a lot shinier plastic, but all looks as per the original. Fantastically, it has a captive nut in the bottom, which mine was short of. Make sure if you do order lights that you get ones with or without power wash slots. Mine doesn't have the power wash. I'm pretty impressed. I'm looking at the tooling marks, trying to decipher them, and it's 0418. So yeah, that makes sense. This has been on the shelf for a year. It was made after the car was finished production. Slightly different tooling possibly, but does appear to be genuine. And looking at the seal, that looks very much like the original. I did have a fear that when this was sent it was going to be one length and I had to wrap it round. That's got a join in it, which isn't the best if I'm honest, but I'm sure I can love that up with a little bit of emery just to make the transition nice. Very pleased with that piece. Bulbs. I've not got any spares for the main beam, not the main, yeah, the main beam. So I've got a couple of those, and in there's a couple of side light bulbs. Thought you might like to see a shot of the lamps illuminated exactly the same way, same light source obviously, right next door to each other. You can see how much brighter the one on the left is in terms of its chrome. Not clean the lens, there's a few smudges on it, but you can see it's crystal clear. And the back is nice and reflective. And those all important gill effects, pieces of styling are nice and clean. And the cover, the dummy for the power washer, is intact. And as soon as we move over onto the old lamp, you can see that this is a lot duller. This is the recess for your indicator. There is your main beam recess with the rather bad discoloration, including the dot where I rubbed my finger just to demo it for you. And the right hand side with all the decay, and you know, basically night and day. I won't be throwing this one away, because what you can easily do with this, if you're prepared to take the glass off, which is basically about filling this area up with a mild solvent and leaving it overnight to dissolve the glue, then you can remove all of the chroming, spray it black, and you've got yourself some XKR headlight housings. I think in the XKR it may have a chrome element here, but I'm sure I could do something about that. going to have to be a couple of trial fits of the headlight because I had to disturb this bracket. It wasn't in the right place anyway. The headlight was in completely the wrong position. So basically the headlight will sit on that, and then I'll have to insert the bolt from the back. But in terms of adjusting it, I'll have to take the headlight back out to get those 2 bolts. So got a new stainless bolt for the bottom of the headlight, some washers on it, that means it does tighten all the way up, but I don't want it straining the plastic by pushing the brass piece out. So I think it's a perfect length, but I've just added some washers so that when we push up through here, it doesn't jack the brass ferrule back out of the plastic. Okay, so prior to reassembling this, I'm going to clean it up. Unlike the mirroring in the front lens, the main beam reflector is chrome plated metal, so you can actually clean this up. Okay, so we've got our fully cleaned up lamp unit. Just a couple of tasks to do. I'm going to put the vent maze back in, make sure it's clean. And this literally goes underneath, slides into place. And that is now connected, as you can see, I think there, to the front of that little aperture. Next is I've replaced the headlight lamp with a new H1 bulb. I'm going to take the opportunity, although it's fine, I'm going to take the opportunity to replace the main beam lamp, and I will keep the lamp that's in there as a spare, just because it isn't the easiest thing to change the bulbs in these when they're in position. With all quality lamps, particularly halogen stuff, it's good practice to avoid touching the glass because you can stain it with the oils on your finger. Access isn't so bad to this main lamp, but in the car you've obviously only got this port, so you reach through, you grab hold of the back of the lamp, and your bonnet is here, so that's what makes it very difficult. Pull the bottom towards you and then pull it back, and it's bayonet mount. Whoops. Out comes the old lamp. So just prise back the little retaining clip, take him off, put your connector back on. There isn't the space to do that inside here once you've fitted the thing. So what you're going to do is slide it through the back of the lamp with the bottom slightly towards you, and then turn it that way. Rotate the bottom away. That's got it. Make sure the system still rocks. It does. We put that one in a little bit of bubble wrap back into his box. That's better. Used. Good. So that's that one done. I'm also going to change the side light bulb. The side light bulb has been giving difficulties. I am literally the Fonz, if you're the right age to remember Happy Days. Sometimes the side light doesn't come on, but I just get out of the car, tap the headlight and it comes on. So it's either the bulb or the connector. I've played around. I can't see a fault with either. These are literally just push-in, bent over wire type connectors. Cheap, easy to get hold of. So I'm putting that to one side. I'm taking my connector and I'm just going to bend the contacts into a harder, firmer contact, because why not? And run my screwdriver blade across the metal parts in case there's any tarnish or varnish. And we'll just fit one of those with the rag. Exactly the same connector. And in she goes. Okay. So that's in position. Feels nice and snug. I will test it before the whole unit goes back together. Turning the unit round. What we need to use now is we need to fit the self-leveling motor. It's not self-leveling on my car, you have to turn a knob, but you know what I mean, the leveling motor. And if you've never seen how these work, basically got this little joystick wand shaped thing coming out the front. On the back there is a knob which allows you to do things manually. When you turn the headlight height adjustment control in the car, what happens is that little, it's like a Ludo piece if you remember the game. That little piece comes forwards or backwards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it all the way forward, just for my convenience. There you go. And we're going to refit this. Now, there is a bayonet fitting, again, that these go into. But inside there, hopefully you can see like a horseshoe. That horseshoe is a little socket, and you've got to put the ball in from the bottom left, and then it's fully engaged. Without that, the headlight can bounce. Sometimes people refit them, and this still works. It pushes the headlights away, but it can't pull, and so the headlights move around quite freely. So I've hooked it. What I do now is I turn the little knob to wind the headlight mechanism in a little bit more. Turn to there, that's engaged. Turn to there, and you're done. And that is your headlight adjustment motor in place. And now if I turn this around, if you take a reference point like here, when I turn the knob that way, you can see the whole headlight mechanism change in angle. So the main beam and the dipped beam lamp move on that mechanism. Back around the other side, check that your lamp is well connected. We can put the cap back on, and it has a rubber seal around there, and it's quite a large unit, quite soft, same sort of material as the gasket that you mount the glass onto the headlight with. And just so that I don't rag it on this, and it's quite smooth, it shouldn't, just going to put a little bit of lubricant around there, just so that it goes into position nicely. Pop that on, give it a twist, and come back quarter turn. It really doesn't matter, but this can go on several places, several ways. So if I undo it again, me being me, I want to put the Valio logo at the top, but there is literally no particular way that should be. So we're almost there. Only really two items left, and that is the cover for the access hatch and the lens. But what I'm going to do is a little bit of work now to prevent further misting up, or at least reduce it. I could do the retro fit recommended by Jaguar, but do it myself, which is to drill that hole and put a T-piece on it. Could do, but there'll be plenty of people who tell you they've done that and it maybe reduces the issue, but it hasn't gone away. Plus, there is, as we've discussed already, a vent on the lamp, so it's not like air can't get in and out. As long as that's clean, that should do the job. So I'm going to do something a little bit different.